Chapter 7, Kaylee. I spend the time after our test and pre-cal coming up with a plan to help Drew get the girl. Drew is the sweetest guy I've ever met. He deserves to be happy, and he's been head over heels for Lynn since I've known him. It was love at first sight, and I'm determined to get Lynn to really see him. Hopefully, when she realizes there's a smart, caring, adorable guy that's in love with her, she'll grab him up and they can live happily ever after. I ignore most of my text messages. There's no reason to pay attention to the messages I'm getting from Connor or James. Opening a new text to Carter instead to enlist his help in making sure we get Drew in the van after fourth period. I'm planning a mall excursion that Drew won't be on board with. I don't want him running away from his first real chance with Lynn. It couldn't be more perfect. Lynn is newly single, and they're partnered up together for a semester-long project. That should be plenty of time for them to spend together and get Lynn to fall in love with him. I stay right next to Drew as we leave physics. Carter is waiting at the door for us. Once we're in the hallway, we each latch on to one of Drew's arms and lead him towards the parking lot. Why do I have the feeling we aren't just going off campus for lunch and that I won't like where we're going? Drew begrudgingly gets into the passenger seat of my van. Carter makes sure Drew gets his seatbelt on and can't go anywhere while I climb into the driver's seat. We're going to the mall, I say to Drew as soon as Carter's in the back seat and the doors are locked. We can get you a new shirt for the rest of the day so you aren't covered in coffee, and we can get food at the food court. We can make a plan of attack for how you're going to steal Lynn's heart. I definitely avoid the other vehicles leaving for lunch. Drew crosses his arms. I don't remember agreeing to any of this. And the mall is 20 minutes away. Do you really want to spend 40 minutes of our lunch break driving? We all have a free fifth period, so we don't have to be back for an hour and a half. Oh, honey, it's cute that you think you have a say in this. You're getting a makeover, and you will love it. Then we'll move on to phase 2 of wooing Lynn. I pat his hand. And with a wink, I add, and it's only 20 minutes trip if you drive the speed limit. I don't want to woo Lynn. I want to get through this project without looking like too much of a dork. Hopefully getting an A so my GPA stays competitive. Can we go get lunch and talk about literally anything else? Drew leans his head back, looking at the ceiling. Drew, just go with it for today, please. I put my hands together in a begging motion. I need this, even if I don't want to have to explain why. After the crappy weekend I just had, I need someone to get their happily ever after. And who better than my lovable and kind best friend? Drew's head snaps towards me. Will you keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road? I place my hands at 10 and 2 to appease him. We can do some clothes shopping now and after school. We can leave all the tags on everything, and if you still hate it tomorrow, we can return everything. It's just clothes. It's not like we're planning on coloring your hair or anything drastic or permanent. Besides, you have coffee on your shirt. You can't tell me you want to keep wearing your faded I Found X t-shirt for the rest of today when it's stained with coffee. My dad gave me his credit card for whatever I want, within reason, so it'll only cost you time. And my dignity, Drew mutters under his breath. Carter and I choose to ignore that statement. A makeover will only help Drew's image. Once we're at the mall, we head straight to the food court. Carter goes to get us food while we grab a table. I immediately pull up my planning notebook. How do you already have 2 pages full of notes? Drew leans towards me to try to see what I've written. Oh, I have a lot more than 2 pages of notes, and it's because I've had 2 hours to work on this plan. Sure, some of those pages are old song ideas, but he doesn't need to know that. Shouldn't you have been listening to our teachers? AP classes are not fluff classes. What if you missed something important today? Drew falls back into his chair, looking defeated. It's math and science. I only pay attention half the time anyway. We didn't even have a lecture in pre-cal. It's not like it's government or English where I have to somewhat apply myself to appease my dad and maintain an A average. As long as I have an A, my dad doesn't care what I do or how much money I spend. So unlike you, who wants to be valedictorian, I'm perfectly content with a 90. Besides, you know I'm going to the community college so I can be there for Sarah until she graduates. I don't need a whole bunch of scholarships to pay for school. I brandish my notebook at Drew. All of that to say, you snagging the girl of your dreams is more important than 1 class period of lectures. And if you're that worried about it, then use my plan so the time isn't wasted. I want to say I can't believe you're trying to guilt trip me because you decided not to listen during class, but I've known you too long to be surprised. I guess there's no getting out of this. Let's get started then. The sooner we start, the sooner this idiocy can be over. Drew runs his hands through his hair, looking like he'd like to pull it out. But then he adds, although I'm not sure how I'm supposed to win her over, especially since she's dating the senior captain of the football team, I don't see how you could have anything in your notebook that'd make it where I could compete with that. Drew levels me with a look that seems to indicate he's beaten my plan. I smile. It's not a idiocy, and she and Mark broke up, which means now is the perfect time to capture her attention. How do you know they broke up? Drew leans towards me. I have government with Whitney, remember? Anyway, she talked to Brooke about it this morning. According to Whitney, Mark broke up with Lynn to go out with Whitney. So not only is your girl single, but it sounds like she may need a shoulder to cry on. If she's heartbroken, it'd explain her outfit this morning. Wrong. Carter sets our food on the table and sits next to me. Whitney's running her mouth. I have Mark and Kevin in my algebra class. I overheard Mark tell Kevin that Lynn friend-zoned him, and he's trying to avoid Whitney. He doesn't want it to be known that Lynn broke up with him, but he wants nothing to do with Whitney. I think Lynn agreed to say it was mutual when asked, but he's worried about what she might say if Whitney confronts her. Do either of you pay attention in our classes, or do you just plot my demise and eavesdrop on other people's conversations? Drew sounds exasperated. Also, it's pajama day. You know, the school spirit days we don't participate in? That's why Lynn was in pajama pants and a hoodie. He puts his head on the table. An upside to being invisible is that people talk like you aren't even there. I might as well take advantage of that and listen, I shrug. I agree, but check your sources. Whitney's only a reliable source of information on the Kardashians and how not to take a hint when the guy you've been throwing yourself at is not interested. Carter pops a fry into his mouth. Now, onto this plan of yours. Please tell me it doesn't hinge on the bad info you got from Whitney. It's less of a single plan and more like I have multiple plans. I figured that way there should be at least one Drew is on board with. The shoulder to cry on aspect won't work. I mark out an entire page of notes from reworking an old song. Drew can't see what I'm doing, so as far as he's aware, they're notes on how to win over Lynn. I flip to another page where there's actually some notes written at the top. You could offer to tutor her and put all that work on your grades to good use, or propose the idea of having a fake relationship to keep Whitney from giving her problems. Drew looks up from the table. First off, Lynn is in all AP classes, and as far as I know, has never struggled with any of them. I mean, she outlined our entire project while I zoned out like a dork during English. I highly doubt she needs a tutor, and even if she did, Xander has mentioned in class before about aiming for valedictorian. I'm sure she'd ask him. All my work for school already has a use, such as getting good grades and hopefully being valedictorian. Drew scoots his food closer to him and starts opening the containers. And second, Lynn would have no problem getting anyone to date her, so I don't see why she'd want or need a fake relationship. We've all seen the different altercations between Lynn and Whitney in the last 2 weeks that Lynn and Mark have been official. I'm confident Lynn can handle Whitney on her own and would find the idea that I could help laughable. Drew scoops up a fork full of food. Are all the ideas you wrote down that bad? He asks before he starts eating. So most of these ideas are just slightly tweaked story plots of some of my favorite rom-coms. But Drew doesn't need to know that. I just need to wear him down until the makeover seems to be in his best interest. As we eat lunch, Drew vetoes all of my ideas, getting more agitated with each one. When I suggest he asks Lynn to be his kissing tutor, he finally loses it. Give it a rest, Kaylee. All of your ideas are outlandish. They're not plausible or believable. Frankly, I feel like this whole conversation is grounds for a rom-com intervention. This is not some movie. This is my life. Just because I may like Lynn doesn't mean I want to do anything about it. And especially none of those ridiculous suggestions you have. Can we go to Carter's house and play video games for the rest of lunch? Drew gives me puppy dog eyes that almost have me caving into video games.